As always, this podcast is brought to you by Declan Kirby GAA Star. Pre-order the book now from Bookstation and be in with a chance to win a family pass to the Croke Park Museum. The new book comes out on April 21st. If you're looking to pick up any presents for any nieces or nephews in the coming weeks and months, then why not check out Declan Kirby GAA Star, best children's GAA book on the market at the minute, as voted by Amazon and Easons. It's available on all good bookshops, Amazon, Easons, absolutely everywhere. So get yourself a copy. The new book comes out on April 21st, Declan Kirby GAA Star, European Dreams. Check it out now in the description down below, and let's start the stream. And there, we'll run through some of the football results, and we'd Fermanagh 210, Tyrone 217. Tyrone getting the victory in the end. I suppose, it was close enough in the first half. Fermanagh were certainly given a much better display to what people expected. Tyrone were maybe struggling a bit in the first half, but I think they hit 1-8 without reply at the start of the second half. Very, very comfortable in the end. And Fermanagh's 2 late goals probably making the scoreline a little bit more respectable. But for Tyrone, in the end, the All-Ireland champions get the victory and march on in Ulster.
Yeah, I think they'll be happy enough with how it went, except for the ending, which I'm sure we'll talk about with Conor McKenna getting sent off. But I thought their performance looked really good. And the standout for this is just how good, for me anyway, the standout for this is just how good their midfield pairing is now. Brian Kennedy and Con Kilpatrick, they're right up there. They're probably, you could argue, the best midfield pairing in the country. I mean, I know that Matthew Uran, rightfully so, I think Matthew Uran is the most complete midfielder in the country right now. But in terms of his form, obviously, Brian Fenton is the most gifted player. But in terms of what his performance levels have been, Ruan's been fantastic. But if you're talking a pairing, I think Kilpatrick and Kennedy is a really good shout for the best pairing in the country. Very interestingly, the whole rotation of Kilpatrick in a full forward, and then he was back out in midfield, and Brian Kennedy was in a full forward. And, the two of them were claiming marks. They were setting up chances for the likes of Dara Canavan and Darren McCurry, who are buzzing around them. So showing that they're not just going to put Cathal McShane in there as a target man. Sometimes it will be one of the big midfielders. I thought that they were very impressive. Darren McCurry, Dara Canavan in particular, scored some lovely points. Niall Sludden got a lovely one as well. And Kieran McGeary looked better than he did in the league, because, his performances in the league were pretty poor, which is worrying because of how important he was to Tyrone last season. But no, and then Conor Myler as well, the goal that he got in the first half, which came at a crucial time because Fermanagh were 7-5 up when Myler got the goal. So Tyrone got a bit of a test, probably more of a test than they thought they would. But yeah, they passed it with flying colours, in my opinion. And I think Logan and Dewar, I think they'll be very happy with that.
Yeah, we've seen how well Tyrone have done when they have Kilpatrick and Kennedy in that midfield. I think I've seen a statistic where they've only won 1 of their last 8 games or something like that when either one of those two haven't been playing and they've used someone else in the midfield. So for Tyrone, they're doing very, very well when they do have that midfield. And I think you've seen the work that was obviously that or the work we seen them do obviously last year in terms of winning that All-Ireland. You were mentioning there about Conor McKenna's red card. What was your opinions on it?
Oh, I thought it was very harsh. I mean, can you name one teammate in the country? I mean, obviously, I'm assuming you played the GAA yourself. If your teammate is there getting, 3 lads on him, what teammate in the country is not going to run over and help their teammate out? And the thing is, McKenna didn't run over and hit him a dig. He didn't run over and box him. He ran over and pushed him onto the ground. And at that point, Colin O'Rourke was trying to make the point in the commentary that, in the analysis that, he picked him up and threw him on the ground. Yeah, because he knows that the Fermanagh lads are immediately going to turn around, and which they did, and piled onto him, tore his jersey off him. About 4 of them on him immediately. I mean, I think Kilpatrick, it's hard to know. I did see him swing up his arm when he was on the ground. I don't know if one of the Fermanagh lads kind of stood over him, said something to him, to then he reacted. But it was very obvious that James McMahon put his hand in Kilpatrick's face when he was on the ground and kind of pushed on him. That's a huge disrespect, obviously. Of course, Kilpatrick's going to bite on that. And then McKenna did what any teammate would do in the country. And to have him singled out as if he was the only player that got involved in that. I mean, I think probably the reason he was picked was because, I don't know, 3rd man in, even though, there were multiple people in already. But McKenna going in was what made it from a little incident into a brawl. But of course, there's not one teammate in the country who's not going to back up their teammate when he's getting 4 men standing over him like that. So I think it's way too harsh. I think Tyrone should appeal it. And yeah, I don't know. What's your opinion on it? Like, because this thing seems to happen at the end of pretty much every GAA game now. Like it's really, really crept in. I know it's always been part of the game, but I feel like it's getting more and more common.
Yeah, I thought it was a yellow. I definitely wouldn't have given a straight red, because he obviously pushed one of the players and then sort of picked another one up and threw him on the ground as well. Would have given a yellow, but definitely wouldn't have given a straight red. And I think he'd already gotten a yellow at that point, so he probably would have been sent off, I suppose you'd have to say. But obviously with a straight red, it means he's suspended with 2 yellows. I don't think he would have been suspended then. So I think they will appeal, and I think he should definitely be available for the next one. But it is one of them again as well, where because originally I thought he gave McKenna a second yellow, and I said, oh well, that's fair enough. But when he gives him a straight red, it kind of doesn't really make sense why he gave him a straight red, but not McMahon or Conal Jones, I think it was as well, or maybe Ryan Jones, one of the Joneses anyway. Obviously, 2 of them got yellows as well.
Number 9, the big fella.
Yeah. So it was a little bit. It was a little bit unusual.
Big guy.
Might have been, yeah. So it was a little bit unusual, to be honest. That and referees seem to do this quite a lot, where I don't know. I feel like they seem to bottle a lot of these decisions, where they'll give a red here, or give a yellow here, yellow. No real consistency really at all.
Oh no, it's a raffle. Like it genuinely is. It's like who's gonna go, and like the thing is, like if by the letter of the law, if you're gonna send off McKenna, you should send off James McMahon as well. And like that's why I'm kind of surprised, because refs in the past have seemed to have this thing of 1 player per team, right? Like when a scuffle breaks out, and that's why when Tyrone got 4 players sent off, everyone was so shocked. But at the same time, all 4 of them deserve to be sent off. Like absolutely all 4 of them deserve to be sent off, because they all, were caught striking another opponent, which is the rules. Like why is it crept in kind of as an unwritten rule that like you don't send off players and they're all in a brawl? Anyone who strikes, if you want to play the rules, should go. So I don't know how it's crept in that like players can just get away with stuff. Then on the other hand, the player that is just helping his teammate out. Obviously, I mean, he went in there aggressively, but find me a player who's not going to do that at the intercounty level, especially in like an Ulster Championship where there is a rivalry between the 2 counties. It's obviously going to happen. I think Tyrone will definitely appeal the decision, and I think it would be a big loss to them if they do lose McKenna, because he was showing some serious energy. He looked, quick. He looked sharp, and then he hit that shot for the goal, which hit the post and came up with finished into the back of the net there. I think it was by Rafferty. And then he was kicking some nice points as well. So if he's gone, that's actually a big loss for Tyrone. So I do think they will appeal his suspension. And in my opinion, the suspension should be turned over.
Yeah, I think so as well. Yeah, like I definitely think they will certainly look into it. I think Fergal Logan and Brian Dooher, one of them are solicitors anyway, so I'm sure they'll definitely get down to work in regards to that. But yeah, like, and I suppose as well, like you've seen even with McKenna and his shirt getting dragged off him. I don't even know if that's why the referee gave him a red, because he's seen him with his top off and he thought, oh well, he must have been getting into some bother somewhere, and that's why he kind of just chose why he singled him out. I don't really know. Like it was a strange one really, because I definitely think like McMahon, what he done was arguably worse. So it was a bit odd, all right.
Mm-hmm. Well, the antagonism, it's just gone to a new level. I mean, like, I'm actually interested in your opinion on this, because I hate it. Like I absolutely hate it. The fact that the likes of David Clifford and the likes of, say, Sean O'Shea, that they know that every game that they're going into, they're just going to get someone who's on them, just mouthing in their ear all game, trying to rile them up, trying to get them to hit them, trying to get them sent off. The fact that that's just become such an accepted part of the game, I don't understand it. Like, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, like I'm all down for a bit of banter, a bit of crack or whatever. I suppose it depends what people are saying to each other, obviously. And I think there is a line. Like I don't think you should be bringing in people's girlfriends or family members or anything like that, or races, religions, anything like that. I think that there is a clear line. I think you can have a bit of banter between 2 people, a bit of jokes back and forth. There's no harm in rivalry whatsoever in sport, and we've all been there before. Even with people, like you might be best mates with someone you're marking, and you'll have a bit of laugh, you'll have a bit of crack with them. But I think there is a line where you shouldn't go too far, you shouldn't go too over the top. there's definitely certain things you shouldn't say. And I do think as well, like, I don't know, like, I feel like the fighting at the end of a game for me is something that never really makes sense. Like, I feel like at the start of a game, if you want to lay down the law, lay down a bit of a marker, fair enough. But towards the end of the game, when it's all dead and buried, like, I don't really know. Like, there's an old expression my dad always used to say, actually, funny enough. He was like, if you don't win the match, maybe you can win the fight. And maybe that's what the Fermanagh lads were thinking of there.
Maybe, yeah. No, like, maybe it's just trying to make a statement that, like, you know, you might have won, but you're not going to push us around. You're not going to bully us. And yeah, maybe they were just trying to leave one on a few Tyrone lads there. Who knows?
Yeah, and I suppose to finish up on Fermanagh, then they'll be going obviously into the Tailteann Cup. What do you think of them going into the Tailteann Cup? I mean, there's not really much between a lot of those Division 3, Division 4 teams. And look, although they were beaten in the end by 7 points, I think they'll definitely take a bit of confidence going into that. And with players like Sean Quigley, Kieran Corrigan, they'll definitely fancy their chances.
Yeah, they were better than I thought they were. Like, I have to say, I mean, like, having seen how they started the Division 3 campaign with Antrim coming up to Brewster Park and absolutely dominating them, they didn't look like they were in the same league as Antrim. I was genuinely worried for Kieran Donnelly and for, you know, Fermanagh. But they've got better and better, and they look very good at the start against Tyrone. Obviously, going 5 points to 2 ahead. Lovely scores by Ryan Lyons early. He looked very impressive. Conal Jones got a nice one. Sean Quigley got a nice one. So, look, the fact as well that they were without the likes of Owen Donnelly, Ulton Cowan, Shay Cullen. Like, those are 3 fantastic players, and they were missing them. So obviously Owen Donnelly has retired, but if they can get the other 2 back in, you know, they'll be actually looking, in my opinion, dark horses for the Tailteann Cup. I mean, personally, I think it could be a Cavan that win the Tailteann Cup. I think Westmeath had the talent to do it as well, but yeah, no, I would be genuinely looking at Fermanagh as serious dark horses to win the Tailteann Cup this year.
Yeah, you definitely wouldn't want to bet on it, all right, because it's going to be very close indeed between a lot of the different counties that are going to be involved. You had New York 15 points, Sligo 116. I mean, this game was a lot closer than people thought, and I actually think New York were the better team for the vast majority of this one, and on another day could have won this one. I mean, they were level going into the final couple of minutes. Sligo pulled away with the final four points in the game, but New York will take a lot of credit in the end from this performance.
Yeah, obviously similar to London as well. No championship game since before the pandemic. And, you know, I mean, the likes of Adrian Varley, 6 points. I mean, he looked fantastic. Johnny Glynn at midfield as well looked pretty impressive. Mark Ellis too, like a former Cork hurler. I mean, then I mean, back, it was Daniel O'Sullivan. He looked really, really good. I mean, his pace on the counter-attack was very impressive. Yeah, like Sligo, on the other hand, though, they'll still be happy. I mean, they went to New York. They got a serious test, and they passed it. I mean, Sean Carabine with 1-3, Noel Murphy with 5 points, Paddy O'Connor with 3 points. I mean, the Sean Carabine goal as well was brilliant. I mean, he showed us pace and a lovely finish. I think the league definitely helped Sligo, because when it came down to the home stretch and when it came down to the crunch time of the game, they were able to get over the line. Pat Spillane coming off the bench, I thought that really helped. I mean, his running power was very evident there. And, you know, they got some crucial scores. Obviously, you mentioned the 4 points in a row. That's what saw them over the line. But I think New York would be absolutely delighted with the performance. I thought they looked really, really good. Interesting enough, I did like the commentary between Darren Frehel and Pat Spillane. I thought Pat Spillane's a funny kind of co-commentator, because, I mean, he's your typical man on the sideline, isn't he? That, you know, oh, great score there, great point there, great point there. Talking over Darren Frehel. I mean, I liked it. It had a real live stream type feel to it.
Yeah, it was good, all right. I mean, it felt like he was out of breath a lot of the time, and you were kind of wondering, is he going for a jog, or was he out on the points the night before or something? I'm not sure, like, because he definitely did seem, you know, and he was kind of, yeah, he was belching out at so much that was going on, but it was kind of entertaining, to be fair to him. But yeah,
he's a character, yeah.
He's a little unusual at times, I suppose you could say.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't hold back. He's like a Munster version of Joe Brolly, I'd say. Not as controversial, but sometimes he doesn't hold back. And if he sees a good point, he says it's a good point, regardless of whether the commentator is talking or not. But no, I thought Frehel went well with him, because Frehel wasn't too uptight about it. Wasn't too like, stop talking, I'm doing the commentary here. I thought he kind of let it be a 2-man act rather than a commentator and then a co-commentator. I thought the two of them were in it together type thing. So yeah, no, I really enjoyed the game. I thought it was a breath of fresh air. I thought New York played like a side with nothing to lose. And going into the Tailteann Cup, I mean, me and Matt were having the conversation saying, like, if they get a Waterford or if they get a Carlow, I mean, let's remember Sligo put 28 points on Carlow. Like, I'd actually back New York to have a serious chance against Carlow. And then Waterford as well, who, finished rock bottom of the league campaign without a victory. Like, you wouldn't actually put it past New York to turn one of those teams over.
Yeah, no, I think New York are going to get their first ever inter-county win at senior level this year. I really do. Haven't seen them play, and with Adrian Varley as well, who looked very impressive. But yeah, last thing on the Pat Spillane thing as well. Obviously, it was funny enough seeing Pat Spillane Jr. coming on as well, and he hit a point as well. I remember at one stage, and Darren Frehel didn't acknowledge it, and I seen Pat Spillane, and he was like, "Was that Pat?" And he was kind of just saying it in the background, and you kind of wanted him to have his moment. I was hoping that Frehel would acknowledge that it was him that scored, but obviously he just wasn't have seen it. But that was definitely a funny moment. All right. Last but not least, then you had London 2-11, Leitrim 3-12. Close one as well. I think a lot of people expected it to be close. Leitrim just about getting over the line in the end.
Yeah, big chance missed for London. Like, big chance missed for London, I think. Like, you have a side that are coming over that you've beaten them in the league when they had a better team on paper out that day than they did this time. I mean, they had Keith Byrne there last time, who is their scorer-in-chief. This time they didn't have him, and then Leitrim were coming to London this time as opposed to London going to Leitrim. So I thought, look, this could be a serious chance. And me and Matt actually tipped London to win this game. We thought, like, the momentum is there. This is their championship final. They've been waiting for a championship game for so long. And now they have Leitrim, the worst team in Connacht, with no disrespect to Leitrim. I mean, Sligo look pretty good. You've got Roscommon, Galway and Mayo then, who are like, miles ahead of them, of the other two. So I thought, like, look, this is lined up for London to potentially take Leitrim out here and make national news. I mean, because if London had won this game, the news stories would have been everywhere about it, about what another feather in the cap that would have been for Michael Maher and for the London boys. I thought they looked really good in stages. I mean, the two goals towards the end there from McMahon and from Sean Hickey, that really had Leitrim on the edge of their seats. And only when Ryan O'Rourke got the goal at the end, that's the only time that I really was like, all right, Leitrim are going to win this. But right up until that point, I genuinely thought maybe when Donald Rinn got the second goal, that maybe Leitrim might see it home. But the two quick goals from London, like, that brought Leitrim right back. And then O'Rourke's goal finally finished it off, I suppose.
Yeah, like we've seen this time and time again with London. Like, they seem to be one of these teams that seems to be down and out, and then they seem to come back and fire back out of nowhere. Like, and I suppose they're another team going into a Tailteann Cup that could definitely spring a couple of surprises. Like, I definitely don't think they'll be a million miles away from it. Like, I think you would look at a lot of other sides that should get the better of them, but at the same time, at home, like, they haven't been beaten. Like, when you look at through all the results, other than a 9-point defeat to Sligo, London have been competitive in every game that they've played, which I think is testament really to Michael Maher and his management team.
100%, because they've been competitive with Cavan and Tipperary, like two sides that were very recently provincial champions. So I think absolutely, like, London, same thing as I'm saying with New York. Like, if London get a Waterford or a Carlow, like, they'd be licking their lips at the chance of having a go at the two of those sides, because the two of them, morale will be low in that camp. And I'm saying this in a way of respect to London and New York. I was saying with Matt, like, London and New York have nothing to lose. Like, if they lose, no one like, the fact that what I'll show that will prove this is Leitrim went away to London, a side that had beaten them in the league. Forget that it's London. They went away to a side that had beaten them in the league, and they went there without their best forward, their top scorer, their key player, their talisman, and they won by 4 points. And it didn't really make national news. But if London had won that game, it would have made national news. And that's my point when I'm saying that London don't really have anything to lose. And it's the exact same with New York. But when they come up against a Waterford or a Carlow, if they turn one of them over, like, that's a massive news. Like, that's a massive day for Gaelic football in those two areas. And yeah, same thing with New York. I think if London get a Waterford or a Carlow, or if they get New York themselves, I think, they'll be eyeing up though as a potential victory.
Yeah, I think so as well. Like, and you see it even with Andy Moran as well, like, hugging his right-hand man I've seen an image of that going around social media, and obviously you can see how much it means there. Like, and they knew it was a very, very tough game, and it was a big, big win to come out with. You've got Mayo and Galway this weekend, and provided Mayo were to get past Galway, I mean, you could have Andy Moran going up against his former county. Which, look, I think everyone and everyone's dog on the street knows that whoever comes through Mayo and Galway should beat Leitrim and get into that kind of final. But the idea of Andy Moran going up against either a Mayo or even against a Galway, who are, you know, one of his big rivals, you know, as a player, I mean, that will be a bit of a story in that, I suppose, as well.
Yeah, of course, because obviously Andy, like, you cut him and he bleeds green and red. So if he had to be managing against Mayo, I think it would be an interesting spectacle. But I think it wouldn't be as much of an interesting spectacle on the pitch. I think Leitrim are in for a bad day, whether they play Mayo or Galway. Obviously then, like, if they pull off the shock of all shocks and beat one of them, I just still don't think they'd beat Roscommon in the final, providing Roscommon get by Sligo.
Yeah, no, I'd have to agree as well. And I suppose if Andy Moran's Leitrim ever came up against Roscommon, maybe that would even be an even more of an interesting clash. I suppose before we finish up, Seamus, obviously your own podcast, Play On GAA. Where can people find that if they're looking to see a bit more of yourself, and obviously your friend Luke, who does be on the show with yourself as well?
Yeah, so it's just called Play On GAA. We're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, and we're coming to Spotify very soon. I was saying I was head deep in the assignments, so you know, I was flat out with them, but I am nearly finished. I have one left, and once that's over, we'll be on Spotify very, very soon. So just literally Play On GAA. Myself and Luke kind of both run the channel. Obviously, Luke took the match of views this weekend while I was doing the assignments. So thanks a million, Aaron. Again, been a pleasure again having me on. And enjoyed the discussion.
Perfect, Seamus, top man. Cheers for coming on.